Hi, welcome everybody. Welcome back to the Be Healthy Summit and welcome Lee Yen Anderson.
Thank you. It's my honor to be here.
Thank you for taking the time. Lee Yen Anderson is the founder of the Sensible Tribe, a global organization of 25,000 members who are thriving in lifestyles that honor the earth and all living beings. She's a certified raindrop technique specialist, a licensed spiritual healer, a nutrition consultant, a yoga teacher, and an aroma yoga teacher. She holds a master's degree in international environmental policy from UCSD and a Bachelor of Business distinction in economics and finance from RMIT University, Australia. So, Lee Yen, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself? What's your background?
So I grew up in Malaysia, and I had always been a very driven person, knowing that I was going to be successful in no matter what I did. And I was naturally funneled into a career that involved finance. When I was there, I realized how unhappy I was and how my true passion lied in that moment. It was all about saving the earth. And I figured out a way to marry my economics and finance experience with my passion to save the earth. And so I went ahead and did a master's degree in environmental policy. And my passion back then was really to formulate economic policies that would lead to sustainable development, especially for women and children in developing countries. And so I had an internship at a United Nations development program, and I was all set to become a bureaucrat in the world of nonprofit organizations. Well, life happened, and I had children, and what really woke me up to the myriad of health issues I had that I had totally ignored until my son started showing signs of food intolerances. There was a time in his life when he wouldn't step out of the house without first knowing where the first restroom stop was going to be. Whenever he arrived at a new place, he would ask, where the bathrooms were. And then we got calls from the school asking what was going on because he was spending a lot of time in the bathroom. So it was a lot of digestive issues, and diving deep into finding out what was going on with him, I realized that a lot of the symptoms I had been dealing with and ignoring because of my zeal to help others instead of myself, I realized that actually a lot of what I was going through was food intolerances and just very low immune system as a result of not living in a way that honors my body and my emotional state, because I was also a very stressed out road rage driver in California at that time. I started investigating how food impacts our body. And with that knowledge, I helped us, I think, to get us to about 75% better. I was dealing with a lot of skin issues, hives, eczema, low immune system issues, coughing chronically, falling ill a lot, back aches, chronic back aches, and joint aches even, and just digestive issues. So alternating between constipation and diarrhea, and all the signs that showed something was not right. So getting ourselves to about 75% well, diving into nutrition, signing up for a nutrition consulting course, I realized that when I was introduced to essential oils, that was really the missing link, in that our connection to the plant kingdom allowed for the harmony of our cells in our bodies. And that led to me really finding true peace within my emotional, mental, and spiritual state, as well as confidence in knowing that whatever comes our way, I have a toolbox that I can use. And so I was also doing yoga then because of my I guess it just really, really helped me with my stress. And I found that I actually really loved it. So I became a yoga teacher. And then lo and behold, realized that essential oils and yoga is such an amazing partnership. And so I started teaching. Well, first I got certified in aroma yoga, and then I started teaching. And what I teach now, I call it sensible yoga, and it's SCENTSIBLE. And really, my perspective is that it is an awakening of our senses as a path to presence. And once we start becoming aware of our body, it's very much a realization of how intelligent our body is, and all the senses lead us to really this deep knowing of what's the next best step we need to take for our health, for our the manifestation of really what we're here to do. So that's, in a short synopsis, that's where I'm at today.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Leanne, I would love to dive with you into the topics of chakras and essential oils. What are chakras, and how can you use essential oils to strengthen the chakras?
So I first have to give you a little bit of background of what essential oils are and how it actually works within our body. So as you know, as you may know, essential oils come from plants. It can be distilled from any part of the plant, from the root, the bark, the tree itself, the branches, the leaves, the flowers. And it has, in the way that I use it, the essential oil has to be grown in a way that respects its inner life force. So what we have in a bottle is this vibrant, energetic substance that is really captured from the plants themselves. And so it has to be distilled with just the right temperature, very little pressure, the right type of container, not any contaminant added, or even when it was grown. And very importantly, it has to be imprinted with love and a sense of respect and reciprocity. So with every step of the way until the bottle gets into our hand, it has to be seen as this relationship we have with the plant, and a sense of stewardship of the plant's use for our benefit. And so this relationship is very much part of what I teach with yoga, because as we inhale the essential oil, we are really inhaling it with gratitude and reverence. And the plants are not just a resource for us. They are really meant for us to be building a relationship with them so that when they thrive, we thrive, right? And it's a reciprocal relationship. So in a scientific way, how the essential oils then, with its full, as much of its range of compounds as possible coming out of the plant, these compounds are numerous, in the hundreds, and we could never attempt to replicate it in the lab. We can also never attempt to really explain what it does in our body, but as an analogy, I can imagine it like a song. So every essential oil is like a song with different frequencies in the bottle. When we inhale it or when we put it topically, it enters our body, and we have millions of receptor sites all over our body that requires a specific key to unlock those receptor sites in order to start the cascade of action. And that action can be to cleanse the cell, to reprogram the cell, or to give it instruction to perform its function. Now, so that means that every essential oil from a different plant has a different frequency, and even within each essential oil, it has those different frequencies that will go where it needs to. If you can imagine, even all the messengers in our body, including hormones and what we call ligands, they are singing their song throughout the body, and they are finding the harmonious attachment that they are attracted to when they find it. And when they get there, then they unlock the possibility. So as we inhale, it goes up to a limbic region of our brain, and that is where our memory, our emotions are stored. And that is another amazing way that essential oils help our emotional release and helps us to relax and to just sort of come back to our essence before our programming of different emotional trauma within us. So the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual aspects of essential oils is really how we're experiencing it. And as we do yoga with that, then we are subconsciously reprogramming ourselves without having to use our willpower or any sort of judgment about where we're at and where we need to go. So the chakras, being the energetic centers of our body, have their own personality, if you will. That personality is expressed either as in harmony or imbalanced, right? Could be too much or too little. So as we go up the chakras, I will explain a little bit more about that. But as an overall view, the chakras are, if you will, in the areas of our body that also correspond to our endocrine glands. And there are three ways, three communication pathways in our body. We have the nervous system, the endocrine system, and then the cytokine system. So actually, in all three of those ways that our body communicates, essential oils can affect those ways. So let's just focus on the endocrine system for now, because we, as the endocrine glands, so the root chakra is at the base of our spine, and it is connected to what we call our gonads, so our sexual organs. And those are the endocrine glands there. The sacral chakra is just below the navel, and that is connected to our adrenal glands. The solar plexus chakra is just at our solar plexus region, and that is connected to pancreatic functions and glands. The heart chakra, the heart can sometimes be considered a gland. It can also be considered our thymus gland here. And the throat chakra is connected to our thyroid gland. The third eye is, for our purposes, there are a few different interpretations out there, but I would say it's connected to our pineal gland. And then the crown chakra, connected to our pituitary gland, which is also known as our master gland, that really affects all the different glands in the body. So as we use the essential oils, with our yoga, we are then able to use the oils that we have found throughout history. Essential oils have been used for over 2,000 years, and there are more and more scientific research that are produced every single year on the different effects of the essential oils. So we can take the essential oils that are going to be beneficial to those specific endocrine glands, and conversely, well, not conversely, but additionally, we can also choose essential oils that affect the emotional component, as I spoke about the personalities of those chakras. So today I will give you one of each for each chakra.
Awesome. Looking forward to that.
So shall I go right ahead to the root chakra?
Yes, please.
Okay. So the root chakra is connected to the element of earth. Earth is a little denser than, it's a dense feeling, soil and groundedness. And this is where we start, because we build our foundation from the bottom up. The color red is associated with the chakra. So many times when we meditate on this chakra, we would imagine the color red at the base of our spine. And as we do that, we are tapping into the frequency of this chakra, because all colors are a different frequency. The essential oil, and this is just a subset of all the essential oils I would choose. So today I would say I would use vetiver, which is a grass that is grown, and it has a very grounding and earthy scent to it. And it's also a little bit thick, and that viscosity is, again, reflective of that groundedness and density of the earth root chakra. And so when I use vetiver, I would always put a drop on the left palm of the students, and the left side of the body being the receiving side. When I put a drop on it, I ask them to circle it around 3 times clockwise. And again, it's that reverence of using it. We're activating it just the way our proteins and our DNA circle around, it's clockwise. And I would ask them to hold it up to their face. Sometimes some students want to really put it up to their nose. Sometimes they have it a little further away, depending on their own affinity with that essential oil. And then I would go through a few different sun salutations. Now, the earth root chakra helps us, when it's balanced, to feel safe, to feel secure. And the negative expression of that would be fear and a sense of lack. So when we feel safe in this world and taken care of, then we're not so worried about when our next meal is going to come, or if we can pay our bills. We do our work in staying completely present, and trust that when doors open for us, we are actually present enough to be able to see it and take the step through to our next level of expression of our gifts in this world. So part of feeling safe is really cultivating a sense of trust. So when we are using vetiver to ground ourselves, it is actually working with our, in this case, our gonads, sexual organs, and we are feeling the sense of support by the earth. And so as we go through our sun salutations, we are actually repeating this sense of security. And in the massage world, there is this saying of, we don't do things just once. We do it at least 3 times. So the first time, the body is a little bit surprised. It's a bit shocked at it. The second time, it is starting to open up to that repetition. But the third time is when our nervous system just allows it, expects it, and knows what's coming next. And that's when we start to trust. So trust is something that needs to be cultivated. And so as we cultivate trust on our yoga mat, it is translating into our ability to trust stressful situations or scary situations in the world. We're using our breath. As we inhale, we're reminding ourselves that the breath is a really useful technique for slowing down our fight or flight system. And the other aspect of the earth chakra and the essential oil I would choose is black spruce. So when we choose the essential oils that are big, tall trees that are perennial and, they're evergreen, that means they're just all year round, so rooted into the ground, and they can withstand, many of them, the strong winter storms that come. In fact, we use a lot of the spruce and firs and to bring into our house during the Christmas season in order to remind us that we're safe even in the dark of the winter night. And that scent as we walk in with the Christmas tree is really grounding to the body. So in addressing the energetic part of our root chakra, then using the black spruce essential oil as we go through a lot of the poses in yoga that helps to ground us is mostly all of it, because we're either standing or using our hands, so we're always on the earth. But it is that awareness of standing there and allowing, say, all our fear to go through our feet into the ground, and understanding that the processes of the earth is very much relevant to our lives as well. So the earth takes in compost, which is what we don't need, what we don't want, junk, toxins, and it beautifully transforms it into soil that is nourishing to our plants. So as we visualize, let's say we're in downward facing dog, both our hands are on the ground, our feet is on the ground, and we're visualizing this release of what we don't need into our feet, and through our hands we're visualizing taking in the nutrients of the soil, just like as if these were our roots. So that's the root chakra.
So beautiful how you describe it. What about the next one?
Yes, so just with everything in our lives, once we have a nice foundation, then we can start to have fun. We can start to be creative. We can start to really be so present as to see the creative solution out of any perceived obstacle or problem. The sacral chakra is represented by the element water. And water is not one to be stopped by any obstacle. As it flows down into the ocean, it comes across caves. It's even making caves through the mountains. It comes across boulders, but it finds a way through. It may come across the cliff, but it just becomes a beautiful waterfall. So if we imagine ourselves being the water that goes every way and finds creative solutions, because ultimately we get to the sea. then we start to see life as just this fun, creative puzzle that has these clues and hints and metaphors all around for us to decipher and to tap into really our inner knowing, because sometimes it's not really to decipher using our brain, right? So the sacral chakra is also corresponding to our adrenal glands. If I were to use an essential oil to boost my adrenal glands and support, say, the kidney and the bladder and all of that there, I would choose juniper. Juniper is an essential oil that is really beneficial to our kidney function. And on a physical level, we want the circulation of our fluids to be not sluggish, right? To go smoothly so that we can be like water. And the other essential oil I would use for the energetic personality of this chakra is orange. So the color of this chakra is orange. The frequency is one of fun, and citrus essential oils have that quality to them that almost reminds us of childhood and that child we once were that had no cares in the world and was just so creative in coming up with games, and we laughed and we had fun, right? So orange essential oil really matches that frequency in us. Now, if this chakra was imbalanced, then we would be it would be hard for us to find our way through our obstacles. We would be stuck in our judgments or the feeling of the emotional trauma that has come into our lives. So we would hold on to those and replay the story over and over in our head with very little space for anything new or anything that would help us to get out of it. So here lies somewhat of that victim consciousness of a person that believes that they have been given all these bad things in their lives. So to allow that victim consciousness to come out of that and to become more of a creator, we practice the hip opening poses here. So you can imagine a pigeon pose where we are opening up the hips. A lot of the emotions are stored there, and we use either juniper or orange on that area. And as we inhale, having affirmations is also really helpful, I've found, to clarify to our subconscious what we are intending. So it could be as simple as, I am the creator of my life, or I have fun every day, or my kidneys are working perfectly. Short, simple affirmations that are in the present tense that reinforce within ourselves why we're doing what we do. So open up our hips. We can also be in other poses such as the goddess pose, just really opening up and being receptive. And so part of this chakra too is that receptive nature of water. It will become whatever vessel it is put in, and it has no form of its own unless put into a vessel. So becoming a receptive vessel for however we're meant to be expressed in this lifetime, and accepting it and being the creator too of it. So it's both being receptive and creative. So the sacral chakra is one that is very much about our relationship to others. And when we can start to move away from judgment of how one other person is speaking to us or is saying anything about us, and understand that everyone is going through their own challenges, and what they're expressing may be, and most likely is, an expression of what they are experiencing in their own lives, and has really nothing much to do with you. You're just maybe a mirror reflecting a trigger for them. So there's a lot of self-growth happening in this part of the chakra. And in our yoga poses, we talk a lot about, so for instance, if we're in Warrior 2, one analogy I like to give people is, what we want our torso right above our hips. And in Warrior 2, if someone is leaning too far back, then they're a warrior living in the past. And if they're leaning too far forward, then they're a warrior living in the future. So we want them to be completely present, which is right above the hips. And we work on opening the hips, and that may take a while. But essentially, they are expressing this desire to be a peaceful, receptive manifestation of a present spirit. And that expression then allows their subconscious to just really then start to, even in their everyday lives, understand that they have a choice with their own response to whatever is around them, whatever chaos, whatever fearful event or judgmental event, or the idea of being betrayed or gossiped about. They have the responsibility for their own response, and hopefully that response comes more naturally as they're aware of their own power.
Wonderful. I love your descriptions. So beautiful. So what about the next one?
Yeah, okay, hold on. We move on to our solar plexus chakra, Manipura, which is represented by the element fire. So once we're really grounded and we feel safe, and then we can start to play, and we're creative, and we're no longer suspicious of, other things out there trying to get us, then we can move into the space of core power, core knowingness, and it is a place of simultaneously taking action and being completely authentically ourselves and being present. The color here is yellow, and yellow is actually a color that a lot of retail stores would love to have on their signs or their doors, because it propels people to take action. And so if you want someone to buy, right, you color your store yellow. So the frequency around that is one of confidence, yet acting from a place of humility, in balance. The essential oil I would use here is going to be beneficial for the digestive system. So this is the pancreatic gland, the pancreas, and it's the digestion, it's the fire, right, of the Agni, that when we eat, it is all digested, and what we take in, we absorb. But it's also then fuel for our purpose. So if you can imagine coriander being the essential oil I would choose here. Coriander has been used for thousands of years, and it is amazing for our digestion. And when we inhale it here and also put it topically around this area, we get this sense of lightness. When you are digesting your food well, you feel this sense of freedom and sense of lightness. When you are, say, constipated and all the food is getting stuck in your intestines, you're going to feel sluggish. You're going to have this sense of feeling heavy and stuck. So that idea of stuckness is what we want to push through here. And physically, it is about letting go of the digested food. So coriander is amazing here. And the other essential oil I would use is peppermint. Peppermint is one that will help us to again, take action. And it is also really great for the system. But it is propelling us to do what's right for us, what's right for our authentic self. And so the yoga poses here I would go cycle through would be the twisting and core strengthening pose. So as we twist our body, we are in some yogic literature, we are wringing our intestines and temporarily slowing down the blood flow. And when we do that, we are creating a little bit of a stress, so that there's this, again, this ability to move forward when we release it. So when we come out of the twist, there is this sense of release and reinvigoration of the blood flow and hopefully taking the toxins out. So there are a number of twisting poses we can do here, and I usually cycle through them, as well as core strengthening poses, which could be in the form of a chair pose or a bow pose. Anything that requires this inner strengthening of our core without, and I would teach them to find the balance. So relax the jaw, relax, have a smile, right? Relax your shoulders. And so warrior 3 is another example where we can fly, right? That freedom of action and knowing within that we have the strength to keep us there. So any of the poses that require just really pulling into our center is a great one for this chakra. And while we express it in strengthening our core, the other side of it is how in our modern world, we are being told again and again that in order to be valued, we have to be successful. In order to be worth anything, anybody's time, we have to kind of do more. It's always do, right? So the other side of this chakra is the call to beingness and the humility of doing things not always in the forefront where everyone can see. The beauty of working behind the scenes, if you will, and not really doing it for recognition, and not necessarily to tell the world this is what I did, but to do it with such grace and pure intention is hopefully what we're trying to cultivate here. And so as we as we go through these poses, then there's also the other side of it where it is forward bends. And so when we do this sort of surrendering poses, we are truly also cultivating our strength, because strength is in vulnerability. Strength is in surrender. And it's not always about expressing outwardly. It is sort of cultivating that inwardly.
Yeah, that's so nice. And from my experience, people who have a strong third chakra also have a natural shine to them. They don't need any makeup, they just glow naturally.
Yeah, that's really their confidence shining through, yes?
For sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What about the next one, the fourth chakra?
The fourth chakra is a heart chakra, known as Anahata in Sanskrit, and is represented by air. To me, this is the most important chakra, because this is the bridge between our three physical chakras that we just went through, and our three ethereal or spiritual chakras, if you will, that we will go through after this. I wonder if you would agree, someone who is balanced in the root, sacral, and solar plexus chakra could very well be very successful in this world. But there are two kinds, in a way, of successful people: one who is guided by their heart and one who isn't. And the ones that are seen as successful in this modern capitalistic world sometimes may not be doing it out of this idea of love or a heart that is balanced. And so we really want to cultivate this part of us, because when we are truly expressing our gifts in this world with that is guided by our heart, it is a sustainable venture, if you will, because it is going to radiate so bright that other people are going to benefit from it, right? And when we live a life of service, that is when our impact is multiplied. Color here is green, and you can imagine it's emerald green. Some have also said it's pink. So pink or green, it is just this color that has this frequency of blissful delight, how we would describe love in the many different ways that it expresses itself in our relationships. Ultimately, it has to be this, again, feeling of safety, that we are loved, feeling of fun, because love, we don't want to take love too seriously, and the feeling of sort of not just we are loved, but everyone deserves to be loved. And so the essential oil I would use here is ylang ylang. Ylang ylang has been used for many, many years to find harmony between the masculine and the feminine qualities. And there is maybe a thought that the idea of love is very feminine. However, really it's the balance between the two that creates this unconditional love that is so beautiful. So while we have had a lot of yang energy in our society, we're trying to move it more to the yin energy of the feminine quality, the nurturing of the heart. And so here, the essential oil of ylang ylang can help us to open our hearts to the idea that we are lovable, and the different parts of us are lovable, not just if we express this gentle, kind, compassionate, nurturing part. Sometimes there is that like goddess Kali, right, who from unconditional love is going to be very stern and very cut right through the illusions into the point of the matter. So that harmony and coming from that place, and then expressing it and allowing it to lead us as we live our life is the idea here. So the other essential oil I would choose here is rose. And rose is immediately associated with love. It is a very precious essential oil because it takes many pounds, hundreds of pounds of petals to distill into a bottle of rose. And so it is also considered one of the higher frequency oils. The frequency of love is much more powerful than the frequency of fear. Love vibrates high, fear vibrates low. And we have shown in many of my workshops this idea that when we are thinking of someone we love, or just really expressing the feeling of love within us, we can have as much strength within us even to bend a metal spoon. And that is one of the amazing things I show at some of my workshops, because they try and they can't. But once they get into a meditative state of accessing the love in your heart, it literally bends like soft metal. So try that sometime. The yoga poses here that we practice is one of heart opening. A lot of us have barriers around our heart because of trauma that we experienced in our childhood, when we were rejected or abandoned, when we reached out for love and were not shown it. In my own healing journey, that is very much my practice, is to really start to melt away those barriers around my heart. I grew up with this idea that if I achieved and if I got straight A's, I would be loved. And so I, without any respect for my own body or my own health and wellness, it was always about cultivating my mind and getting up there in terms of grades. And so my wellness journey has been about coming down from my mind into my heart, allowing my heart to guide me. So this opening of the heart, it can be, the cobra poses, the upward dog. I love to do partner poses here in sensible yoga, because there is that sense of connecting with another heart. And so one of the partner poses is somebody laying on their belly on the ground, another one on the feet on the side of the hips, and where the giver reaches down and opens up the shoulder of the receiver. And so the receiver comes up into a cobra pose, and the arms are holding on to the ankles of the giver, and the giver is sitting back almost like in a chair pose. And the metaphor here is the receiver just receiving with grace and gratitude. So many of us find it hard to receive. We consider ourselves as people here to give and service the world, but then forget about our own selves. So practicing the receiving with gratitude. And then the giver has to take care of their own health here, because when you're reaching down and pulling someone's shoulder up, you may be hunching over, you may be compromising your lower back. And so getting them to bend their knees and coming into a nice chair pose allows them to understand that when they are aligned, they are much more able to give freely, with freedom, with less heartache. And so it's a beautiful exchange. And there are a few more partner poses I would do. But ultimately, at the end of it, I invite them to look each other in the eye and say a heartfelt thank you. And that has almost always become a hug and a few tears shed. Because just the idea of receiving and giving love is something we can practice in our yoga class, so that when they come back to their real life, it becomes more natural for them. And I always remind them that whatever we do on our mat is a metaphor for daily life. So once we start to practice more and more, we are automatically going there with our heart, without much judgment or even thought around it.
Yeah, that's so nice. And a lot of people love to be touched by people who have a strong heart chakra, because they have these loving and magical hands, right? When the abundance of the heart flows into the arms and then into the hands, and you can just feel that magic.
Yes. And when they do that partner pose, it's so interesting how naturally, because we take a breath and we do it 3 times, again, for that safety purposes. But naturally, the giver starts to rub down the back of the receiver when they're resting. And I give that instruction almost always, but it's also almost always natural for them to go there. And it's beautiful to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you hear this sigh from the receiver, like, oh.
Yeah, feels so good.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
the next one, the 5th chakra.
So the throat chakra, the Visuddha, is represented by ether. And so this is a beautiful chakra because it represents our, again, back to the analogy of music, represents the fact that our body is a musical instrument, and music heals, sound heals. When our throat chakra is blocked, and many of us have felt it in our lifetime, we want to say something, but we feel like there's this golf ball in our throat. We just can't say it. But when we push through and say it, we become this mess, like tears start to flow, and then it really starts to release. When we move up the chakras, many times everybody would be like, oh yeah, this is nice, this is good, yeah, I understand it, you know. But once we come to the throat chakra and we start to sing or chant or allow ourselves to speak what is vulnerable to us, this is when they say, oh wow, I didn't realize that was all stuck there. I didn't realize that when I said that, it would create this flood of emotions. So the throat chakra is powerful. It is the first of our 3 spiritual chakras. I'm sure you've heard the statement, you know, the pen is mightier than the sword. We have the ability here to either lift someone up or tear them down. And we have so much responsibility here, both to ourselves and to others, to learn what it means to really speak truth with kindness and compassion. And truth is more aligned with honesty and integrity than it is with what we perceive that may be different than others. Does that make sense? Because there is this very argumentative part of, you can imagine a sullen teenager. So that energy is within us, where we want to argue about everything, and we say, that is my truth, and no one else understands me but me, and this is why I need to say what I say. And then we become this angry activist. That is not the energy here we're trying to cultivate. We are really saying that, yes, we all see things differently. We all have this version of truth. But what is honest? What is honest to you when you say, when I hear that, I feel this. When I see that, I feel this. So it's never about blaming others, or not taking responsibility for your own feelings, your own reactions, and your own, I guess, need to say something. So a few days ago, I had an opportunity to really move into my higher self, because I was being told by somebody that they wanted to work with someone else after we had already invested a lot of time in each other. And I very honestly said, I am very disappointed. However, I see where you're coming from, and I let you go with all my well wishes. And I said it with, as much authenticity as I could. And the truth is, without any expectations of anything. And it felt good. And it felt like I was not holding on or clinging on to anything that was not mine to hold on to. But I also expressed how I felt about it. But the truth of the matter is, she did come back and say that, oh, I changed my mind. But anyway, but the point is that if we can take responsibility for our own feelings and speak it, but not accuse or gossip or judge with our voice that is just so, in a way, sacred to us. So here I would use, in order to affect our physical and gland, here is the thyroid. And the thyroid is, unfortunately, one of the glands in many of us today that is not functioning very well. It is being bombarded by a lot of stress, environmental toxins, and emotional trauma. So myrtle is an essential oil I would use here, and it is amazing for just supporting the function of the thyroid, and helps us to also increase our lung capacity and breathing smoothly. So our throat, is a very narrow pipe that goes into our lungs, and we want to, again, breath work is really important, right, in yoga. So we want to make sure that that channel is always open. And the other essential oil I would choose is eucalyptus. Eucalyptus, again, helps us with our respiratory function, and is also very energetically, it helps us to stay clear of toxins, right? So we want to have a clear voice. That is how we express ourselves. That is how we start to realize that what we're saying should be a clear channel for divine inspiration to reach someone else's ears. So with that, these essential oils then keep our thyroid healthy, keep our lungs healthy, and we can start to sing our song, be a part of that symphony that is humanity. And so the yoga poses here are mostly to nurture our neck. And it could be very simply neck stretches, neck movements, bringing everyone's attention to how we have so many muscles in our neck. And it really is the most flexible joint in our body, in that it can move, so many different directions, and to nurture it because it holds up our head every single day without question. And then we also chant here. We chant any of the different Sanskrit mantras. Sometimes we may have a song playing and chant with that song, or we tone. I love to teach sensible yoga with my partner who plays the crystal sound bowls. And so we tone to the sound of the throat chakra, the frequency of that. And sometimes we have speaking exercises where we have a prompt and ask and invite the participants to speak of something close to their heart, something vulnerable, if they're comfortable to share. So that's the throat chakra, and so important. One more thing I want to say about it is in relations to the song and the music analogy is the rhythm. So the rhythm of knowing when to speak and when to listen. So many of us want to speak and want to speak our truth and want everyone to hear what we have to say, and we're the teacher and we're the lecturer, and the beauty of listening is being a pure witness to somebody else's pain, suffering, or joy. And that is a lost art. So I don't know if you've ever experienced being on the phone, and probably maybe 10 years, 20 years ago, where the delay was pretty obvious. But then you get into this match of who speaks first, and you just get into this, like, you say something and they say something and you pause and both pause. So it's that very subtle art of knowing when to speak and when to listen.
Yes, that's so beautiful. I love that. And I also have a little story I want to share with my throat chakra. When I was a kid, I loved to sing, but I was told several times to stop because people said, "Oh, please stop, Stephanie, this sounds terrible." And I did stop, and I didn't sing for many years anymore because I felt so ashamed. And then my voice got so super quiet. I couldn't really speak out loud anymore, and my throat chakra got so weak. And then when I was grown up, I worked with a singer, and she said, "Please let go of that belief. Everybody can sing, and please start singing again." And I did. And then the power in my throat chakra came back. So this is really powerful. Just go ahead and sing, and don't let anybody tell you that you can't.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. And I too had that experience because I was so confident in my voice. I auditioned for a choir and was not chosen. And then I was quiet for many years and chose to use musical instruments instead to express my voice. And just 6 months ago, I joined a choir. And it's been so beautiful. I love it. Yeah.
Awesome. So what about the sixth chakra?
So our brow chakra is located in between our eyebrows, sometimes known as the third eye. And if you think about the pineal gland, it's actually in the center of our head, down on this level, so back in there. And the pineal gland is responsible for our circadian rhythm, producing melatonin and helping us sleep and wake. If we were to not have a balanced third eye, we would be either very spacey, very dreaming, always dreaming, or we would be completely in our minds, always in our minds, and living in our stories and believing in the truth of facts beyond any other kind of metaphor or feeling or knowingness or intuition or inspiration. So that's two extremes. And the balance that we want to get to is to, yes, understand that humans have an ability to discover facts and to create, invent machines and all of that, but also to understand the other side of it, where there's this ability of us to tap into this inner knowingness, that when we know something, it's hard to describe, and sometimes there's just no words for it. Our gift as a human species is really in a way language, and language allows our brains to bring into reality what our thoughts are. And so it would be almost comparing a scientific compendium of journals to a collection of poetry. So the two extremes of using language to express our reality here on Earth can come to some kind of a harmony, I believe, where we respect all the knowledge that we have gained as humans, but also be so open and flexible to the idea that we don't know everything, and that we are constantly discovering new things. So nothing is set in stone. Nothing is totally fact. What we believe today could be very different than what we believe in the future, because we may have found something out. So from that standpoint, that was where I found my worst, relationship with my previous career as an investment analyst, where I was supposed to be so sure about how much the stock was worth, right? Buy or sell. And I've moved away from that world into this other world of embracing change, embracing uncertainty, feeling complete trust in who I am and what I know intimately to be my own truth, if you will, and also to understand that in order to, cultivate this part of me, there has to be a certain element of magic. And that magic is also being totally aware of all the daily miracles that happen that cannot be explained by science, or cannot be replicated by science, because science is a discipline of finding repetition in things so that it can be stated as completely true. So the essential oil I would use here, first for the pineal gland, for memory, for the physical function, is rosemary. When I was going to nutrition school, my lecturer said something that has always stuck with me. And he said, just remember rosemary as rose memory, and then you'll know what it's for. So as we age, we want to take care of our brains, take care of the function of our brain, its ability to remember, its ability to be cognizant. And rosemary is amazing for that. So inhaling that, diffusing that, putting that on my brain stem is just something that we can do for maintaining this part of us. And then frankincense is another one I would use for that dreaming part of me, for that spiritual part of me, for that frankincense, by the way, has been researched for its ability to connect the spiritual side of our brains to connect to the spiritual side of brains and to make it more apparent and more shows up more in our everyday life. And that's part of the reason, I suppose, it is used in some churches as an incense. So I would use frankincense. And so for the brow chakra is where we start to sit and meditate in many of my yoga classes. Yoga is considered or is interpreted as union of the mind, body, and spirit. So as we move and use our breath throughout all the other chakras, we come to our third eye chakra and we have finally moved our body enough so that it will sit still for us. And our minds can also come to a place of rest. So I love this analogy of our minds as, say, a pendulum, where initially, before we start practicing yoga, this pendulum is swinging wide. It's going from one end to the other consistently. That represents our thoughts. We are just, all over the place. And then as we practice, as we use our breath, as we come into our body, this pendulum starts to swing less and less. But our body is so dynamic, our mind is so dynamic, it's never going to be completely still. What we're achieving here, and no, I don't like to use the word achieve, but what we're really coming to here is this slow vacillation of that pendulum that is still dynamic, but it's just now an inhale and an exhale, and it's nice and rhythmic and nice and slow. So as we sit and meditate, I usually guide them through any different kind of meditation practice. It could be very simply just be aware of the breath. It could also be one where we activate our senses and we are listening to what's around us, feeling our sit bones on the ground, feeling, sending our sensation to our right toe or our left finger, or it could be a guided visualization. And the guided visualizations is somewhat my favorite because it allows people to journey deep into their dreaming part. And now we're aided by, essential oils that actually help us get there. And usually it's in line with the theme of the sensible yoga practice of that day. I take them there and they are shown through their own knowingness what surfaces for them. And it is body awareness, it is tapping into our intuition, tapping into our inspiration. And it is also knowing that whatever visions come up in our head, sure, we can argue that we made it up or whatever, but it is a message for us that only we can know how to interpret. And so I guide them through that. And sometimes there's inspired journaling after. most of the time we just then move on to Shavasana for our crown chakra.
Mm. Yeah, that's beautiful. And what about the crown chakra, the seventh chakra? What is
So once they're so intimately connected to their own wise self deep within them that it guides their everyday. The crown chakra, oh, and I didn't tell you, so the third eye is blue, sky blue. The third eye is darker blue. So now crown is sometimes violet, sometimes white. And the crown chakra is where we come to this realization that we are beings that are part of a tapestry, if you will, a web. And our own actions do not only benefit or impact ourselves, but it is a ripple effect that others can feel. And that realization that we're part of something bigger then becomes this union of ourselves and that bigger energy. So this is where it gets to everyone's individual beliefs, but many people will, after doing the yoga, understand that there is this essence, even if it's the essence coming from the essential oils, which is from the plant kingdom, even that essence, knowing that there's something out there much bigger than just us, connects us to that, and ultimately then gives us this sort of permission to draw from that energy as we realize we are part of it, and to give back to that energy as we realize that whatever we do has an impact. So again, it's this infinite cycle of receiving and giving. And if any part of that becomes blocked, if we do too much giving and too little receiving, then it doesn't flow. And if we are giving where it's not being it's not in synchronicity and harmony, then we may be giving and it's disharmonious, dissonant, which becomes a little dark and a little gray and just not white light or violet. So just having those images in our mind allows us to understand a little bit our impact every single day when we get up out of bed. How are we showing up? And how are we being responsible in whatever choices we make every single day, knowing that our choices make a difference in, for instance, somewhere as far away as Hawaii and Germany. When I make a choice here, it may affect you in Germany. When you make a choice in Germany, it may affect me here in Hawaii. And I have no idea where it comes from, but somewhere along the timeline, somebody threw something in the trash or even made that choice to drink from it. And it ended up here where today I am walking on it. So this crown chakra is really powerful in waking up humanity to our individual responsibilities as we are connected to source energy, to the karmic timeline, to all that we breathe, we say, we do. How is that contributing to the overall synergy of our life here on earth. And ultimately, I think with my work, it's really about connecting them to this energy so that we start to live a life of reciprocity with Mother Earth. And using the essential oils for this then gives them that visceral sense of, this is something I'm receiving from Mother Earth. So that is an incredibly powerful synergy I find with using essential oils and yoga. So here is our pituitary gland, and pituitary gland is like a master hormonal gland that sends hormones, messengers to all our other glands on how we grow. It's also where we get our human growth hormone, how we grow and how we develop. Parts of us need some sustenance, what parts of us is not doing so well. So it's metaphorically also very relevant in us as organism being a part of the organism that's Mother Earth, and Mother Earth being a part of the universe as we know it. So I would use Palo Santo here. Palo Santo is an essential oil from, and I would mention here, the trees, the forests in Ecuador can only be harvested when one has a license. So it's very important to know your source. And so Palo Santo is an essential oil that comes from dead Palo Santo trees that have died naturally, allowed to rot in the forest. And the essential oil peaks after about 2 years of laying on the forest floor. It is known as the holy wood in ancient Peruvian and Incan traditions, and they use it as a means of tapping into the spiritual world. So I love to use that in Shavasana. In Shavasana is where, as I invite the participants to relax into the sacred support of the earth, that they start to meld and merge into the energies around us, right? They're no longer just themselves. They become this union with everything. So Palo Santo, the other essential oil I love here is sandalwood. Sandalwood, again, helps us to connect spiritually with that part of us. Also helps our pituitary gland. And sandalwood is, again, another decimated crop. And so very important to make sure we get it from the right farms, and ones that allow the reforestation. So sandalwood is interesting. It is a parasite. And when you think about that, a parasite is given a pretty bad connotation name. But if we were to honor and respect the sandalwood plant, we would plant it along with many other native plants around it. And we are actually growing more than just one plant. True, the sandalwood does take nutrients from the plants alongside it, but they grow also together. And they grow together to a point where the others become a part of the sandalwood plant. And then the sandalwood plant tree survives and the ones around it don't. But there are, various stages of that in the forest. And so it is a thriving forest. That gives us this idea too about our, life and death cycle as we connect to our crown chakra, knowing that death is just as sacred as life, as birth. And the connection between all living beings is neither good nor bad, but if we can learn to live together synergistically and honor how one needs to give to another to receive, but ultimately we all thrive together, that is also part of the teaching of this chakra.
Wow. Leanne, thank you so very much for these beautiful descriptions of the chakras and the essential oils. That was wonderful.
Thank you for taking the time. I know there's so much to go into. It's very much in depth, and I would love to, help anyone who wants to understand more if they want to get in touch with me.
How can I get in touch with you? What's the easiest way to find you?
The easiest way is my website. It's leanneanderson.com. And there's a contact me section there. You can follow me on Instagram. It's just at Leanne Anderson. Or you can follow me on Facebook. It's again, on Facebook, it's at Sensible Yoga. So SCENTSIBLE Yoga.
All right. Leanne, thank you so very much for sharing your time with us and your wisdom. And it was so much fun talking to you. Thank you so much, and many blessings your way.
Thank you for having me.
Many blessings to everyone watching, and bye-bye. Thank you.